Given this increase in unprecedented collaboration, and as a result of the need for less law enforcement officers to do this work in a safer environment, I have announced effective immediately we will draw down 700 people effective today. 700 law enforcement personnel.
700 law enforcement personnel being drawn down out of Minneapolis and out of Minnesota because Tom Homan went in there and now he's got the cooperation somehow of the Democrats. It's probably going to be a double cross because, they can't be trusted. They're like communists who, as everybody knows, can't be trusted at all. But a very happy Wednesday to you once again. It is Mailbag Day here on our humble radio broadcast. Also, I got a funny video. I think Brian Doherty sent me along this funny video out of Minneapolis. Pretty darn funny. Colin Rugg on Twitter. 2 presumable women driving Subarus follow a black Ford Expedition. They're assuming that it's federal law enforcement. In circles around a roundabout in Minneapolis. A traffic circle. It's pretty funny. The SUV made 4 circles around the roundabout before the video cut out. Maybe the battery died. And they're both Subarus. This is a pretty funny video, I've got to say. There's a black SUV that may or may not be federal law enforcement, and 2 Subarus driven by white liberal women. And the 2 Subarus are following the black SUV. And the black SUV, the driver of the black SUV, a man, said, hey, look, they're following us. Let's go to the traffic circle over here, and I'll go round and round and round in the traffic circle and see if the idiot bimbos in the Subarus will follow me around and round and round. And they did. So pretty funny. And then there's video of it here. Subarus, isn't that great? Just great stuff. Subaru driving white liberal women in Minnesota following a black SUV around a traffic circle again and again and again because every day is an IQ test and not everyone competes. That's for sure. Now, the mailbag. The Wednesday mailbag, and I have, what do I have here? I have these, and then I have one handwritten letter. But let me go to the printed mailbag queries for today. Queries are very much like questions, but it's more fun to say query than it is to say question. Ray, first question for the mailbag. Ray asks, you can call me Ray. If you had to choose only one, what label best characterizes your role on your WMAL 9 a.m. to noon gig? Nationally syndicated, thank you. And my choices are radio host, talk radio personality, journalist, resident comedian, entertainer, news anchor, cruise director, or other. And this is what Ray wants to know. So I have to choose one. And I got to say, the thing is, Ray, Michael and I were reading this morning, and I said, well, honestly, I am a radio host. I'm a talk radio personality. A great deal of what I do is journalism, and it's, sort of a journalistic war on bad journalism, but it's journalism. Resident comedian, well, I think that's probably my favorite. I think that's, because if you can't laugh at all this stuff, then you can't laugh at anything. Entertainer, well, talk radio is entertainment, the rules of entertainment, although I've got to say my journalistic ethics are much stronger than George Stephanopoulos's or Chunk Todd or a long list. And then news anchor, cruise director, I like cruise director, or other. And when I first read it, I said to Michael Piercy, it's kind of all of the above. But I was asked to choose one, and talk radio personality works. And honestly, if I had to choose one, it's probably, radio host is easy because that's true. talk radio personality. That's true. And I'm in the entertainment side of the business, so definitely entertainer. If I had to choose one, Ray, I tell you, I'm going to go with entertainer. Now, my subject matter is the news of the day and the cultural events of the day and so on, but entertainer because I want it to be as entertaining as possible. And I should say that, once a year we go on a sea cruise, and our great American listeners come along and hang out with each other, and everybody has a great time. But we were on a sea cruise once, maybe even twice, and the cruise director on the luxury ship, the cruise director was a guy named Willie Ames, who was a child TV star on the TV show 8 is Enough. 8 is Enough. And I thought that was he played Tommy Bradford. It was about I think it was about a Washington journalist, wasn't it? But this guy, Willie Ames from 8 is Enough, was the cruise director. And it was kind of funny that he was on there. But, Ray, I'm going to say entertainer. If you ask me to choose one, that's the one that I would choose. Resident comedian is quite good. But really, it's kind of all of the above, sort of all of the above. Radio host, radio talk, radio personality, journalist, resident comedian, entertainer, news anchor, cruise director. All of those bundled into one is pretty much my job. If somebody asked me what the job was, I might tick off those. But I am in the on the entertainment side of the house. My grandfather was on the entertainment side of the house when he started in radio in 1922, nationally syndicated by 1924, 102 years ago. Sort of fun stuff. My mother doing radio from the time she was 7 years old in New York City, out of the New Amsterdam Theater and just off of Times Square in New York. But my mother was in radio, from the time she was 7 years old, 9 years old, she was doing national radio. Her father was doing national radio from just shortly after coming home from World War I. Entertainment and journalism, it's always kind of been rolled into one. But fun question, I think, Ray. And then Debbie, second question. Debbie asks, what can be done about these rogue judges that keep letting criminals out to reoffend? Democrats. Do we have no recourse, or is this just the way it is? And I've got to say, Debbie, it is pretty much the way it is, because judges enjoy great job security and job protection, and you have Democrats, and we see them all the time, and the fake news media, the Washington Post, you see Washington Post laying off hundreds of people today, Washington Post laying off hundreds of people today, having Zoom calls and stuff, but I want to get back to that. But I got to say, the judges, they have this power, and it's always, I like to cite, the Washington Post doesn't, but I like to cite, well, this is Joe Biden appointed judge. This is a Barack Obama communist racist judge. This is even the Bill Clinton judges are out there corrupting things. And Debbie, the Democrats always rule on the side of the Democrat Party and the left, activist judges. And conservative judges always rule based on the law, the merits of the case, the truth, the reality. So we've got that. But yeah, Debbie, we're kind of stuck with these judges. Not a lot we can do. Kevin asks, some can be voted out of office, but a new president can't come in and get rid of the old president's judges. They're there when it comes to federal cases and federal judges. And Democrats are all corrupt. They go to law school. They're corrupt in law school. They're corrupt when they pass the bar exam. They're corrupt when they become judges. They're corrupt. They're like Bill Gates. They cheat on their wives with Russian, we'll just say girls, prostitutes, and then you got to sneak your wife antibiotics because you're bringing your STDs home. That's the thing about them. But yeah, Debbie, pretty much stuck for the most part. Lest they can be voted out, which in some cases they can. Kevin asks, Chris, your family Orteg prize of $25,000 for the first nonstop flight from New York to Paris would be $466,000 today. Raymond Orteg was a New York hotel owner, My question was the Orteg name in the hotel business, like Hilton, Pritzker, Governor Pritzker's ancestors, his father, grandfather, started the Hyatt hotel chain, and that's why he's a multi-billionaire without ever having to do anything. Or Trump today. Trump owns many hotels as well. What happened to his wealth? Well, Kevin, that's kind of a fun question that a couple of my brothers have asked that question over the ages. My father, who died when I was very young, but my older brothers were older than I was when our father died. He died at the age of 38 of a heart attack. I was only 5 months old. I was Christopher Orteg until I was 5 years old when my mother remarried Bill Plant in St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City. My first wedding was my mother's wedding, and it was at St. Patrick's in New York. But it's true, my father's uncle was a man named Raymond Orteg. Raymond Orteg was, and my father's father was Jules Orteg Sr. My father was Jules Orteg Jr., but my father's uncle was Raymond Orteg. Raymond Orteg owned 2 hotels in New York City and Manhattan, the Lafayette Hotel and the Brevoort Hotel. He owned both of those hotels, and he became quite well-to-do. And he offered a $25,000 prize for the first person that could fly across the Atlantic, and it was either from New York to Paris or from Paris to New York. You could go either way. But Charles Lindbergh was the winner of the Orteg Prize, the $25,000 prize. I like the new calculation, worth $466,000 today. That's kind of fun. And I've got to say, none of that money he was known as Uncle Raymond in the family with my father and my father's siblings. Uncle Raymond owned a couple of hotels, and one of his hotels, the Lafayette, was a very big place for pilots in the World War I era and the post-World War I era. And a bunch of Americans went over to France in World War I to fly planes against the Germans in World War I, the Lafayette Escadrille. And these Americans would hang out at the Lafayette Hotel in New York with my great uncle and all this good stuff. Now, the Orteg Prize is in the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum, and I've seen it on display there many times, along with the airplane, the Spirit of St. Louis, of course. Great stuff. But no, it was, Kevin, only my great uncle, Raymond Orteg, was in the hotel business. He owned 2 hotels in New York. I think he sold them at some point. And there was no wealth passed along. I can tell you that much. A couple of my brothers have made mention of that. My father's father was really in the wine import business to New York, ran a big business out of Long Island City, and was a big importer of wine from France. The family from a little town called Louvis-Juson in the Pyrenees Mountains in the Basque territories, because we're Basque. My family people never said we're French. Everybody said we're Basque. Basque. That's the thing, the Orteg family. But it is kind of fun, the Orteg Prize being from the family. And I've always been crazy about aviation and airplanes and everything. For whatever set of reasons. Sean asks, but thank you, fun question, Kevin. Sean asks, there's a lot more to say about all that, too, but only have so much time. Sean asks, Comer, Chairman, Congressman James Comer, is having the Clintons testify behind closed doors. This protects them from public scrutiny. We need to see them lie. Right, that's true. Democrats defending them will be highly informative. That is the Democrats in the House that will be defending him. It's true. You want to see their questions. Rhinos protecting their Democrat buddies. I understand all that. They've negotiated the Clinton lawyers. That Comer has promised he'd hold them in contempt of Congress if they continue to defy the congressional subpoenas. And so their lawyers said, look, we'll cut a deal where you do it behind closed doors, not in open session, but it is going to be videotaped and it's going to be transcribed. And you may remember the video of Bill Clinton wagging his crooked finger and saying, that depends on what the meaning of the word is. And then you have to leak the video, right, of the thing. But you're right, I got to say, Sean, this is the Democrats will find 15 ways to weasel out of all of this. 15 ways to weasel out and to conceal what was said, and they'll lie under oath, and they've got to bury everything because that's what they do. I have two more. I have two more questions, and I want to get to them. So hang right in there. We've got a couple more coming right up for the mailbag today. Yeah, the Ortega Prize, fun stuff. I have a little miniature Spirit of St. Louis at home. Now, the Ortega Prize is a check for $25,000 that Charles Lindbergh won. And also, if my name had still been Ortega throughout my life, I think I would have been syndicated a lot earlier on the radio. What do you think? Definitely.
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is. Yes.
Oh, hey, we're back. All right, let me make this my final mailbag question today. Paul asks, "Hi, Chris. I've noticed the Right Squad team." That's my television show on 10 p.m. Eastern Time on the news. I almost call it Newsmax. Yeah, Newsmax channel. I've noticed the Right Squad team is much more at ease without Jason on the set. Jason is the left-winger college professor, And I've noticed the Right Squad team is much more at ease without Jason on the set. It's so enjoyable to see healthy discussion without his lies and confrontations. If at some point he is no longer on the show, will you stay? There is no Right Squad without Chris Plant, he says there. I've got to say, Paul, thank you for the kind words. You're not alone in your assessment of the role that Jason plays on the show. He's very unpopular with the viewers, and I would say for a great many very good reasons, because lefties, and the things they say, the ridiculous brains of lefties, I've got to say. Now, would I stay? The truth is, Paul, that I think I've made the decision to move on from Newsmax TV, and it really, look, I actually have fun doing the show, Jason Nichols notwithstanding, and you're right about everything you say. I have fun doing the show, but I'm working 17-hour days, 5 days a week, and I've been doing that for 2.5 years. And I've decided, my best girl and I have decided that it'd be a lot better, life would be a lot better, doing the radio show and then knocking off earlier and not having a 17-hour day every day. This whole Savannah Guthrie story, Savannah Guthrie's missing mother, is a sad and tragic story. I'm talking about it yesterday. I don't see any happy ending here. There's, I don't even believe this ransom letter story. I think that's going to turn out to be a fake. And then there are reports the FBI visiting the sister's house. But does that mean the sister and the sister's husband are suspects? That's being reported, and that may or may not be the case. And you got to look at Rob Reiner's kids too, because they've already got, a history with this sort of thing. I kid. All right, but I mentioned this in passing, but the Washington Post, which used to be a newspaper here in Washington, D.C., and they're firing people. They say they're laying them off. That means they don't have jobs anymore. And if it's you being laid off, you're pretty sure that you've just been fired. Washington Post tells employees to stay home. As the newspaper, and this is the headline from Fox News, to stay home as newspaper expected to announce sweeping layoffs. Washington Post closes sports department as part of sweeping layoffs. A third of the company has been impacted. Fox News Digital has learned. And they write, the Washington Post announced widely expected significant layoffs on Wednesday, with entire departments being shuttered. That means closed down, everybody fired. And what the company is calling a significant restructuring on a webinar with Post employees who were asked to stay home. Never a good sign. Executive editor Matt Murray announced a significant headcount reduction at the Washington Post. The Post is shuttering the sports desk in its current form, dialing back its international footprint, making Metro more nimble and focused. They've always had a completely useless Metro section, and eliminating books. No more book section, no more sports section, scaling back international. The Metro section sucks, and they're going to make their Metro more nimble and focused. Sure, a third of the company has been affected, Fox News Digital has learned. The Washington Post is taking a number of difficult but decisive actions today for our future. You know, their centibillionaire owner will be unaffected by all this, of course. But they lost, I think they lost $75 million last year. And Jeff Bezos is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. He owns it. And liberals just say, well, so what if you lose $75 million here? You can afford it. Just keep the propaganda going for the Democrat Party. But here it goes. Apparently he's more of a businessman than the Democrats thought. So the Washington Post taking a number of difficult, decisive actions for the future amounts to significant restructuring across the company. These steps are designed to strengthen our footing and sharpen our focus. That's a lot of hooey, a lot of bourgeois, delivering the distinctive journalism that sets the Post apart and, most importantly, engages our customers. Yeah, we stopped getting the Washington Post delivered to our house. We live in a building in the city, and our great delivery guy for years and years, and we have for decades, delivered to our front door. And then they said, well, we're not going to deliver it to your front door anymore, just to the front of the building. So at 5 o'clock in the morning, you get up in your pajamas, and they want you to go outside in the snowstorm and get your newspaper, as opposed to it leaning against the front door of your apartment in the building. And that we said, okay, well, we're not getting that anymore. And that's that. I, read it because it's like reading the enemy's dispatches, And they say that they're going to be getting rid of hundreds of people, and apparently they're learning today all about this. And they had a Zoom call. Everybody dialed in and said, listen, why don't you not come in today? Because we're thinking this might be a bad day for you at work, and we'll let you know if you're one of the people being let go. And that's, I don't even wish them that, being fired and all of that. I wish that they had decided to run a good newspaper. That'd be great. The Washington Post, a great newspaper? Wow, that'd be a real change of pace. But the Jeff Bezos, people are going to be furious with Jeff Bezos, of course, because he's rich, and he should lose all the money that he's supposed to lose. Right? Yes, sir. They reported more than $800 million in revenue in the fourth quarter of 2025. They've got, the New York Times is circling the drain as well. Washington Post staffers have been aggressively tweeting at billionaire owner Jeff Bezos, urging him to save the paper. A Washington Post insider pointed out that the staffers were leaving on their own accord even before the cuts were formally announced, citing three who recently fled to the Post's top rival, the New York Times. Yeah, well, it's a circle fest in a hot tub. It doesn't make a lot of difference. Isn't that great? As the webinar wrapped this morning, Washington Post Guild, the union people, took to social media to announce Save the Post rally. They're always having rallies, aren't they? To take place on Thursday. I can hardly wait. These layoffs are not inevitable, the Guild said. A newsroom cannot be hollowed out without consequences for its credibility, reach, and its future. Yeah, that's all probably true, but never mind. Because, look, I mean, if you ran a good newspaper, everything would be fine. Everything would be good. But you guys haven't been running a good newspaper, have you? No, you haven't. Now let's get back to because honestly, the Savannah Guthrie's mom story is a pretty crazy story, and who knows where it's going. But mom is missing, 84 years old. The sheriff there seems like a pretty good sheriff, Chris Nanos, Nanos. I assume that's Greek. Nanos, the Pima County Sheriff, Chris Nanos. A question about, hey, what was she wants to know there's apparently pulled out of bed in the middle of the night, so what she's wearing is kind of a trick question.
Do you have any idea what Nancy Guthrie was wearing or the type of car that she might have left from, or any identifiable information that the public could use to help with those tips?
We do not.
Sheriff, do you believe that one or more than one person was involved in the kidnapping?
I just no clue. It could have been one. It could have been more. I don't know. Let me get one second.
Is there any indication that Nancy Guthrie is still alive? We know the medication played a critical role here. It's been 48 hours. She needs it every single day. Are you looking for someone that is still alive?
We hope we are. We hope we are.
We hope we are. We hope we're. And that's, I got to say, in the family, this is just absolute torture. And then you hear that there are multiple reports that the Savannah Guthrie's sister and her husband are being looked and at least a couple of news outlets saying that the husband may be on the short list of suspects. And, all in the family. It's a family values thing, a terrible, terrible thing. Brett Baer on the Fox News Channel last night had FBI Director Kash Patel on his show because I think it was TMZ, the entertainment people, that said, there's a ransom note of some kind that's been delivered asking for money. And actually, I think they're asking for it in Bitcoin. Isn't that right? In Bitcoin. And the whole ransom note thing may be a complete fraud. A couple of days went by, and then, hey, there's no ransom note. Then a ransom note shows up, and don't buy everything that falls through the ceiling tiles in a situation like this. Kash Patel talking to Brett Baer.
There was a report today that TMZ received a ransom note. Are you aware of that? Or
the local authorities notified the FBI of it, and we are working with them in any manner they choose. But remember, they're the lead right now, and we have to respect that. But we are there to help them in any way we can, on ransom notes or otherwise.
Yeah.
On ransom notes or otherwise. And for kidnappings, I think the FBI is normally involved, and kidnapping is kind of an unusual crime. There are people that are convicted of kidnapping for grabbing somebody for a minute or things like that. But this kind of kidnapping from her home, an 84-year-old person with her daughter is very well-to-do, but nevertheless, and notwithstanding, and now that there are questions about inside job and the Savannah Guthrie's sister and her husband, who just from a still photograph looks like a guy that you might not trust. President Trump was asked about it yesterday at the White House. Hey, you familiar with the kidnapping of Savannah Guthrie's mother? And President Trump said nice things about Savannah Guthrie. And I got to say, when this first happened, I said to my best girl, I said I've always had a basically positive image of Savannah Guthrie. I don't think of her as an angry leftist political hack. I think of her as being a morning show host and, nice. President Trump asked about it yesterday.
Have you been briefed on Savannah Guthrie's mom missing in Arizona?
I think it's terrible.
Would you commit to more federal agents, like helping out on the search?
Sure, I would. I'm going to call her later on. I think it's a terrible thing. I always got along very good with Savannah. Very unusual situation, but we're going to find out.
It is a very unusual situation. There is no doubt about it. And again, now the reporting is spreading a bit. Savannah Guthrie's sister and brother-in-law seen for first time since FBI visit. And that's Savannah Guthrie's sister, Annie, and husband, whose name is Tommaso Cioni, or Cioni, C-I-O-N-I, Tommaso Cioni. Seen for first time since the FBI visit in the hunt for mom and Nancy. They had a 2-hour meeting with FBI officials and county sheriff's people at their house. And apparently, allegedly, according to at least one report, Savannah Guthrie was there as well. But again, my best girl last night when we were sitting around at dinner time said, I think the cops should look at Savannah Guthrie's sister. And I thought, what? Why would she even say that? And I said, they should probably check with Rob Reiner's kids, too, to see where they were. But this is pretty wild. It's a wild story for a lot of different reasons. And crime has been committed, and it doesn't look like anything good is going to come of this. FBI agents spotted at Savannah Guthrie's sister Annie's home as mom remains missing. And this is a very unusual set of circumstances. And the local media and national media, too, saw FBI and county sheriff's people leaving the sister's house and asked them questions. They didn't answer anything at all. But it's a peculiar set of circumstances. There is no doubt about it. Also, did you see and there's no, my sense from the beginning is there's no happy ending here. The New York Socialist Communist jihadi mayor Zohran Mamdani, he went and visited a man. Now, there was a domestic violence circumstance in New York City, and the police were called in. When the police showed up, a man came rushing at the police with a knife, and the police shot him. And then Zohran Mamdani heard about this, a police shooting, a man attacking the police with a big knife, lunging. And here's the New York Post story. NYPD cops shoot man with history of mental issues who lunged at them with a kitchen knife, police say. And Zohran Mamdani heard about this. He went to the hospital to visit with the man that was attacking the police with the knife. And the police felt it was necessary to shoot him to protect their own lives and the lives of others. And here's Zohran Mamdani, and he's like, oh, well, he wants to hang out with the criminal.
I spoke with the Chakraborty family, and I visited Chavez in the hospital. And there is no family should have to endure this kind of pain.
Yeah. Well, then you shouldn't be a mentally ill, schizophrenic psychopath attacking the police when they show up your door because you're terrorizing your own family. And the Democrats, they're on the side of crime. They're on the side of criminals. Zohran Mamdani went to the hospital. I mean, again, it's like Senator Chris Van Hollen going to El Salvador to hang out with Kilmore Abrego Garcia and sip whatever they were sipping. And now you got this guy attacking, and here's a picture of the giant butcher knife that he had in his fist, and he was attacking the police officer. Police officer shot him, but Zohran Mamdani's on the side of the criminal.
In meeting with the family, in visiting Chavez at the hospital, and in viewing this footage, it is clear to me that what Chavez needs is mental health treatment, not criminal prosecution by a district attorney. And that is why I proposed creating a Department of Community Safety to build a mental health system rooted in prevention, in sustained care, in real crisis response.
In real crisis response. You remember Joe Biden? Joe Biden, when he was president, said that he didn't want police shooting people, especially unarmed people, Joe Biden said. And he described an unarmed person as a man rushing at you with a knife.
Teaching a cop when there's an unarmed person coming at him with a knife or something to shoot him in the leg instead of in the heart.
There you go, because, you know, you got an unarmed person running at you with a knife. They use the words, but they don't know what they mean. He doesn't know what an armed man is. He doesn't know what those words mean. And you should shoot him in the leg. Well, this Democrat who was shot by the police, he's the hero of the story, according to the mayor of New York. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, Javel, he was charging at the... Oh, he needs, you should make him a deputy mayor in charge of psychotic, murderous behavior. And by the way, the officer was yelling, drop the knife, drop the knife, drop the knife, over and over again.
Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Move! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife
Suffice to say, he did not put the knife down. Sure, knife-wielding maniac with a history of mental illness. And the mayor is like, hey, I'm going to go hang out with that guy. They've got a lot in common. Yeah, it's a crazy story, the Savannah Guthrie story, I've got to say. And I've got a friend asking, hey, why have we heard nothing about Savannah Guthrie's father? Heard nothing about her father. And actually, my best girl looked it up yesterday. It turns out that her father died of a heart attack at a very young age when Savannah Guthrie was 16 years old. 16 years old. And there is with Mom, and I think Savannah taking care of Mom and all that good stuff. And that's it. And also, one question that was raised is, I think Jasmine raised the question today, where's Matt Lauer? You know, did she take Matt Lauer's job from him? Maybe you should be looking at where's Matt Lauer in all this, I think. That's what I think. Yes, sir.